you got a difficult decision to make here. Are you going to get the brand new NuX MG30 or the MG300? What are the differences? Well, stay tuned because the next few minutes I'm going to take you through them. Well, hey there, it's Scott at the Pedal Guy. How you doing? Well, we're all about pedal demos, pedal knowledge, and pedal sales. I love pedals, and so do you. In this video, I'm going to take you through the differences between the legacy MG300, and by legacy I mean only a few months old, and the brand new upcoming NuX MG30. What are the differences between these two? Well, in this video I'm going to take you through them so that you can make a much more educated and informed decision. Now, before we do our dive into the differences between these two products, just keep in mind, as a quick addendum, that this is to help you make the most informed decision possible. I'm not telling you one is better than the other. That's not my position. My position is simply to point out the facts and the differences between these two products so that you can make the most informed decision possible. Okay? Let's get to it. All right, normally I would save this for the end of the video, but I'm going to go ahead and move it to the front, which is price point. Let's just cut through it, right? Because what it comes down to is, yes, feature sets are really important, obviously. And I'm not telling you one is better than the other. But what I am saying is that there is a stark difference in the price point between these two products. You have the MG300 at a $149 price point, and you have the MG30 at a $299 price point. So there is going to be a pretty big difference in that price delta. Just keep in mind, with that extra money you might spend on the MG30, it has a metal chassis, it has more effects, it has more amps, it has more microphones, it has more cabinets, it's also got a lot more features, and it also includes the external foot switch as well. So you're getting a lot of bang for the buck. Now, that doesn't come with the MG300, but again, remember, it's $149, so you are going to get what you get for that price point, and a lot of people have bought the MG300 and have been very happy with it, and so far nobody's really raised a fuss about moving up to a $299 price point. If anything, the MG300 gave a lot of those established customers a chance to use the product in its current form, and now that the new one's coming out, they're going to simply upgrade. So there is that to consider. So let's talk about availability. The MG300 is already here, albeit a little hard to find because the demand is high and the supply is low. And the MG30 hasn't shipped yet. It's not here yet. It's going to be here probably, my guess would be mid to late April. But just think about availability. If you need something right now, the MG300 is probably your best shot. But if you can stand to wait, the MG30 will be along shortly. Now let's talk about the inputs and outputs between the MG300 and the MG30. The MG300 has a pretty simplified layout in that it has a single input, it has a stereo output that also works as a headphone output, it has an auxiliary input, and it has a micro USB port and a power jack. And that is enough to get you started and get you going quite easily. By comparison, the MG30 is a bit more robust in that you have your input, you have your auxiliary input, your headphone jack as well, as a separate, and you also have a send and return, which is not found on the 300. And you have an expression pedal input as well, so you can pop in a different expression pedal or foot switches if you want. And you also have a USB-C port. And finally, there's also a dedicated power switch. Now, one thing that should be blatantly obvious when you're spending that much more money on a modeler is that with the MG30, you are going to get more amps, more cabinets, more effects, basically more of pretty much everything. But a couple of other additional standout mores that you get with the MG30, you get acoustic IRs, you get 3 acoustic IRs, you also have bass amps built in as well, which weren't there before in the MG300. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, that's not to say that they won't introduce that to the MG300 somewhere down the road, but as of right now, they haven't done that yet. Okay, so let's go ahead and conclude it and wrap it up here at this point. Obviously, when we looked at these two, you've got to just look at the sphere of reality and be a little obvious about it here and put on your Captain Obvious hat and say, well, hey, here's the thing. For that extra $150, of course I'm going to get a lot more bang for my buck. So it's not really a fair comparison to put these two pedals together, but I know that the question is inevitably going to come up. People are going to ask, what's better, the MG300 or the MG30? And guess what? They're both really great. Okay, but if you really do want to get a lot more objective and a lot more in the weeds as far as what makes them different from each other, what makes them superior in their price class. You really have to look at products that compete against them specifically in their price catalog, or price class, I should say, sorry. So for example, the MG300 would probably be a lot more akin to some of the other multi-effects processors in its similar price class, from like say Digitech, for example. And in the case of the MG30, you probably want to look at something like the Hot Tone Ampero, or maybe the multi-effects processors from Moore. Those would probably make a lot more sense to do an apples-to-apples comparison, and at some point I hope to go back to those and do a video on that. But I know that this question is going to come up now that people know about the MG30 coming, and people are panicking and saying, which one should I buy? Which one should I buy? Hopefully this video helped you a little bit in that decision-making process. But if you have any further questions, use the comment section below and I'll get back to you when I can. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any further questions, be sure to visit us at thepedalguy.com. But in the meantime, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and also be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for weekly videos and tutorials. Thanks for stopping by here at thepedalguy.com, where I love pedals and so do you.